From Nashville, Tennessee, it's Country Music Time, brought to you by your local Air Force recruiter and this radio station. Now here's the star of this week's show, Del Wood. Del, welcome to Country Music Time. It's such a pleasure to welcome you back to our microphones.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm always tickled to death to be on Country Music Time because those country fans out there are the biggest and the best in the world.
And this is only your second time to be able to get to talk. We talked about this the one time you were on before because you always came and played the piano or something, but we never got to talk to you.
And as a result, I got so much mail through the years to Mr. Del Wood. And I didn't like that a bit because while I love men, I'm not exactly in that category.
No, I'll buy that, really. We'll have to start distributing pictures or something.
Right.
Before we get off the too far off here, we just listened to Down Yonder, and I just wanted to point out, if there's anybody left in the world that doesn't know it, that was the first million-selling instrumental in Nashville. Is that true?
Right, and the biggest selling country instrumental of all time. And listen to this, women livers, the biggest selling instrumental for a female in any field, and I'm so thankful it happened to me.
How about that? And it's kind of ironic that was the B-side of the record that you cut.
Yes, the B-side, Friends and Neighbors, is the side that takes supposedly a free ride, and it came to the forefront thanks to the disc jockeys and the friends that made it possible, the fans. And it did what it did and liberated me from a civil service job. And I gave a month's notice instead of the required 2 weeks to keep from ever having be sure I'd have a job to go back to.
Yeah, and of course you got rich off that song now.
Not off the song. Believe me, and I'm not rich either. No, I made very little because the company went broke, and this is more often the case than not. The public only sees the good side and not the heartaches and disappointments that the artist suffers. You so frequently you don't get paid through an unscrupulous label, and I don't mean to imply that all the labels are that way. They're not, but some of these small labels will really take you to the cleaners, and that happened to me.
Does that happen very often, Del?
It's a frequent occurrence. I wouldn't say that it happens every time, but Well, even with some of your big labels, so many of the artists is conducted an audit, and of course they no longer got to stay with the big label. But I'm not going to call any names, but still, they did conduct an audit, and you would be amazed at how much money they discovered that had not been paid, and it made it worth their while, despite being dropped from the roster of that label's talent.
Well, let's talk about your most favorite subject in the whole world,
Oh,
right?
you know it. You know, I only aspired for two things, Chuck, and that was I wanted first to be a mama and second to be a regular member of the Grand Ole Opry, and I achieved both. But my son, I really got him the hard way because through adoption, and I hate that word. I'd much prefer chosen because he's so very special. In fact, that's the title of my recitation, because at the time I wrote this, Wesley was only just turned 2, and he's nearly 16 now, and he's still too young to really have any idea of what he means to me. But as he gets older, he will, especially after he becomes a parent, he will know just how very special he is. And in case I'm not around, there's this record to let him know just how very special he is why I called it Chosen Children. Dear Judge, I've wanted to write you for such a long time to thank you for letting me have my little boy. But thanks on paper somehow lack the warmth and feeling of the spoken word. I was so afraid that day, the most important day in my life, when I went to your court to get my baby. 'Cause you looked so strict and stern, especially when you said to me, do you realize you're now to be fully responsible for the physical, financial, moral, and spiritual care of this child? And I was just scared to death. I had to be, 'cause here's what I said. Yes, sir, Judge, and I wish you'd hurry up, 'cause I can hardly wait. With that, you smiled, revealing your true warmth, compassion, and understanding of a lonely person like me who needed a child to make a real home. Since that day, many people have said to me, you know, Dale, it's a wonderful thing you were doing to take someone else's child and rear him as though he were your very own. How little do they know. It isn't that way at all. No, sir, 'cause Wesley is my son, my chosen child, and I wanted and needed him more than anything or anybody in the whole wide world. Chosen children? Yes, my little boy was not only chosen by me, he was chosen for me, a gift from God, who's an even higher judge than you. And that's the very way I told him not too long ago, when he got old enough to ask what the word adopted meant. In closing, it's my hope and prayer that you, Judge, may serve many more long, happy, successful years on the bench, helping other lost parents like me find their chosen child. Sincerely, Mom. And now here is Air Force Sergeant Chuck Halsey with a few words about the United States Air Force.
Thank you very much, Del. You know, I have a word for the young lady who might be interested in a non-traditional career field such as mechanics or electronics, because now the Air Force offers qualified young women more than 100 different career fields. These fields include jet engine mechanics, computer repair, law enforcement, electronics, carpentry, and plumbing. And your benefits in the Air Force are identical to those of men. An excellent salary, medical and dental care, some of the finest technical training in the nation, and a chance to serve your country. It's tough and demanding, but it's a good opportunity for today's modern woman. Don't hesitate. Find out today if you're qualified for Air Force training. Contact your local Air Force recruiter. The Air Force, a great way of life.
That was 12th Street Rag, Chuck, my favorite tune because, I had a formal education in music, and my grandmother bought me that when I was 9. It took me 5 years to learn it. Brings back happy memories, so it's my favorite.
How did you get from that? That's something that's kind of, well, I guess not really unusual, but a little different anyway. You started piano real young, about 5 or so, and you learned to read music, and you played, I guess, primarily pretty much classical for a while.
Yes, under protest. I sold records and sheet music in a 10-cent store in preference to going to college to become a concert pianist, as my mother aspired for me to do. And while I appreciate classical music, I despise it. So, I mean, that's being down to the bottom line honest. But I never wanted to do anything but what I'm doing.
I don't care about the classical music just as long as I know your country fans are sure glad that that's the route you decided to take, and we're happy to have you.
They're the best people in the world.
And I sure want to thank you for being on Country Music Time and want to invite you back real soon.
You just let me know, and I'll be here. And thank you so much, Chuck.
Country Music Time was recorded live in Nashville, Tennessee, and was brought to you by your local Air Force recruiter and this radio station. Technical direction by Wayne Loudermilk. This is Air Force Sergeant Chuck Hawsey saying thanks again to Del Wood and reminding you to contact your local Air Force recruiter to get more details about the Air Force, a great way of life.